Hello, good afternoon, and welcome everyone to GovCon training, Corporate Transparency Act. That's what we're going to dive into today. That's why we're all here. I'm going to do a little bit of a warm up here, just so we make sure we give enough time for everybody to log on. So it'll take just a minute. First thing I want to tell you, maybe the most important thing, is my email address is right up on screen right now, brad.reaves@reevesgovcon.com. If you email me, I will send you a copy of the PowerPoint slides of the briefing. Also, this briefing is being recorded. The video is being recorded. So you get the slides and the video. You'll get a link to that after this ends. I know we have a couple of people that weren't able to join in right at the time, but they're going to be looking at the briefing afterwards. So at any rate, you can go ahead and shoot me an email right now if you'd like to, and I'll send you the slides. There are some live links in the presentation that you will see, but then also you will be able to see screenshots from the FinCEN website, where you go to do all of the Corporate Transparency Act beneficial ownership information filings. So again, there's a lot of good information in the presentation itself. And with that, we're going to go ahead and charge forward, because we've got a lot to get through today. All right, first I want to start out with providing an overview of where we're going to go today. We're going to start out by talking about the Corporate Transparency Act, the background of the act, where it came from, and sort of why we're having to deal with this. As I'll mention, over 32 million businesses in the United States, that's sort of an estimate, are going to be impacted by the Corporate Transparency Act. And while most of the folks on our webinar today are government contractors, this applies to every small business in the United States. So it's extremely broad. In my law practice of almost 20 years, this is the most significant corporate compliance requirement that I've ever seen. So we're going to talk through that, what it came from. We'll talk about the deadlines that are going to start rolling out. I mean, the first trigger of this reporting started January 1st, but we'll talk about how that works for the year of 2024. Some things are going to change when we get to 2025. So we'll talk about all those different deadlines. We'll talk about how to determine whether your company is a reporting company. That's a very important distinction as to whether you are a reporting company or a non-reporting company. In some cases, your company may be a reporting company, and then maybe its owners may be non-reporting companies. So it gets complicated. We're going to talk through that. Then we're going to talk about, well, what information is required. If you are a reporting company, what are they looking for? What do you have to gather together? And one of those subsets of information is the beneficial ownership information requirements, BOI. So you might hear me refer to it as BOI today. That is the detailed information that the Department of Treasury, Financial Crimes Enforcement Network is trying to get for the beneficial owners, those who either own or substantially control the business. It's detailed information. We'll walk through what that includes. And then for new businesses that are being created, many of my small business clients, they create new businesses, whether they're creating a joint venture, whether they're creating a subsidiary. They might be creating a new entity to hold real estate, to purchase property that they're going to then rent back from that entity. There's lots of different reasons why you might create a new entity or start a new business. We're going to talk about the rules that apply to those. There's something called a company applicant registration requirement. So we'll explain that. That's for, again, for new businesses that get created after January 1st, 2024. And then we're going to walk you through the FinCEN filing requirements. And as I'll explain, this is something that you can do yourself. Particularly, I would say if the entity is a single member entity, if it's an LLC, or if it just has one owner. If an entity just has one owner, that's going to be just about as straightforward as it gets. and you should be able to do this filing by yourself. Now, there might be a reason why you might want to get an attorney to help you do that as well. But as we get into the more complicated scenarios, the more complicated ownership situations, that's where you might need some assistance in filing. But either way, we're going to walk you through what's required to file with the Department of Treasury. And then, very importantly, once you file, you're not done. Because if there are changes, now here's the good news. The good news is it's not something where you have to go and refile year after year after year. But it is something where you have to do updates. So we're going to talk about, how to comply, how to comply on an ongoing basis, but then how to track for changes. How do you do those updates and changes as things go along? And I'm hoping to have a chunk of time at the end to answer questions because it may not be a full hour and a half of material. I was hoping to target about 1 hour and 15 minutes so that we can do about 15 minutes of questions at the end. Please put your questions in the chat. I'll do the best I can to get to those questions, or you can always email me as well. And my email address will pop up there again at the end for those who are just joining. Brad.Reaves@reevesgovcon.com. And again, those of you who are just joining on, this PowerPoint presentation, the briefing is available. If you email me, I will send it to you, but everybody will get a link to the recording once this is done.